Procrastination, fear of success. Why do we fear success? Because we fear the responsibility that comes with that success. Right? So, what's responsibility? The ability to respond, all tied in together, another dynamic. Let's work on that. How do we target that within ourselves and bring that into a state of harmonic integration? How do we integrate that? Many of you still attempt to grasp knowledge. You're reaching out, attempting to work it all out. You're grasping, reaching for knowledge. You confuse knowledge firstly with information. You believe that acquiring information is about the development of knowledge. And that's not really true. Wisdom, of course, is knowledge that has been gained through experience, then implemented in love. So, to come to an understanding of the environing conditions within which you're operating is an important part of the development of the expression of wisdom, because you have to have some sort of local knowledge. The eternal truths that I share with you in another place, in another time, would be expressed extremely differently. The same, however different as a way of expression. The source remains the same. The phenomena of the knowledge itself, which clothes to a certain degree the wisdom, is something which changes, it's something which evolves. However, the truth itself does not evolve in the absolute sense. The truth is source. Source is truth. Relative truths, of course, evolve with the particular consciousness, individually and on a group level, that truth is an expression of, by, for and through. So you have to separate this idea out that knowledge and wisdom are the same thing, and that knowledge and knowing are the same thing. You cannot grasp knowing. You cannot acquire knowing. You cannot even receive knowing. You cannot grasp knowing. You can't really even grasp knowledge. You can acquire knowledge, but you can't grasp it. Grasping it, reaching out, claiming something, trying to possess it, becoming attached to it, and then trying to then lodge it in your own electromagnetic field, contain it within your own individual field pulsations. That process of trying to acquire, grasping, and then trying to work it all out, and packing all of these small chunks of energy into the mental body has absolutely nothing to do with wisdom or knowing. So you need to forget that. See, the thing is that you don't need to know. You don't need to know. You don't need to know. And how true that is absolutely true. You don't need to know. So you're going to wait until you know to take a risk. You're wanting to know in some absolute sense before you take a risk. And then when I know, then I'll take a risk. Because when I know, that risk won't actually be a risk. See? So when I know, I'll take the risk which is no longer a risk because I know. That completes the loop, round and round and round in circles. That is procrastination. I'll do it when I know. Because when I know, I'll know. It's a beautiful way to get your energy to go round and round and round and round and round in circles. So who said you need to know? Who said you need to know? Why do you need to know? Haven't all the great teachers said that faith is the key? If it was necessary to know to realise God, then faith would not be necessary because you'd already know. So all the great teachers and everyone who has preceded you and realised God successfully is incorrect? Is that your assumption? It must be, if you believe you have to know first. So that's rooted in arrogance and self-righteousness, which you now have some understanding of how to break open that pattern. Right? So all of these dynamics can be reduced to really 2 or 3 fundamental dynamics. Isn't that interesting? And why would that be? Because there's 3 primary rays, there's 3 primary colours. The third ray, from which the 4 subsidiary rays then come from, is actually a combination of the first 2. So of course it's going to come down to, dysfunction even, is going to be able to be broken down to 2 or 3 basic dynamics. And to understand that and to be able to work with that within the various levels of your humanness, remove, if you choose, all of the excuses for dysfunctional behaviour. And that's where the real power is. Because then you're able to work with that and move beyond that. So knowledge and knowing are not the same thing. If knowledge and knowing are not the same thing, what's knowing? Well, knowing is something that comes from becoming one with the source. The source of that particular understanding. So knowing is an emanation. Rays which reach out from a particular source. So rays reach earthward, and as those rays reach earthward, we are able to receive those emanations, and by receiving those emanations, become one with the source of those particular emanations. How close to that particular source you are able to receive depends entirely on how active your energy matrix is, how many dimensions, how many planes you're operating on. Remember, the planes are the various levels of the structures of creation, and the dimensions are the various levels of God unmanifest or consciousness. So it's important not to confuse planes and dimensions. Dimensions are the various stratas within consciousness, or God unmanifest, and the planes are the various levels within God manifest, which is creation. So there's kind of creation and consciousness. That's by far the simplest model that you're going to find. If you try to complicate it more than that, you're going to go off constantly feeling that you have to work something out. So the great transcension of duality is to bring about a melding of the source of your consciousness and the source of your form aspect. The source of your expression within creation and the source of your expression within the great ocean of consciousness. So just do that now. And okay, so if you imagine for a moment those two sources, the source of your consciousness and the source of your form expression. And those expressions are, imagine a source emanating a ray of energy. And as far as that ray of energy has gone, at the end, that's you. What you are is that spot within the macrocosm, that is the end of that ray which is emanated from your source. Okay? That's what you are. And what you do is you just identify with the spot which is at the end of the ray. But what you actually are is the spot and the ray and the source. So what we're going to do now is we're going to be the spot, firstly, at the end of that ray, that beam of consciousness. So you are that spot within the macrocosm through which consciousness is focused. That consciousness which is being focused at the end of that beam, at the end of that ray, that's your consciousness here. The bit that eludes you is that whole beam, that whole ray of consciousness back to source. Yeah? Okay? So I want you to identify your consciousness not only with the spot at the end of the ray, but also the ray itself. Okay? Identify with that. So, believe that that's you also. Not just the spot at the end of the beam, but also the beam itself, the ray itself, is also you. That's also you. You get a feel for that? You can see that? You won't do it if you keep writing things, okay? How about you put the books down, okay? And be here with this. Feel into that. You are the spot at the end of the beam, and you are also the beam itself. Now, as you track back, become one with that beam, you realise that you're a very small part of a much larger energy. And there is a source of that beam, a source of that emanation. Now the source of that emanation is also emanating many other rays, many other beams. And guess what? That's you too. So all of the other beams are you. And all of the other spots at the end of those beams are you. What I want you to do is remind all of the other spots at the end of all the other beams that you're all one, in case they'd forgotten too. Just say, hey, it's me calling. It's you calling. It's us calling. Look behind you. Look behind you. That ray's you. And I'm at the end of another ray. You are not alone. You are safe. You are not alone, and I am not alone. We are safe. We are safe. And we're part of a team. We are a team. And everything I know, you can know. Everything you know, I can know. And don't forget to upload everything you know back to source. And we can all access it. And then mistakes aren't repeated. feel that knowing going back along that ray line, and remind all of the other aspects at the end of all those other rays to upload the acquired wisdom that they have received through their experiences. Now that source of all those ray emanations is actually another spot at the end of another ray. So let's track from your source back along that ray to its source. And you'll find that that source is actually an emanation of another ray. And you can go back to that source. And that's the end of another ray. And you can go back to that source. And you go back to the next source. And the next source. And you go back to the next source. And you find yourself in the cave of your own heart. And you realise the source of all of that is your own heart. Your own heart. Right here, right now. The source of all of that is your own heart right here, right now. And that's the real magic. So the source of all of that emanation is right here, right now. But it's forgotten that it's the source of that. Instead of looking inward, it's been for aeons of time wandering around, searching for its source, not realising it is its own source. Its own source on the planet and its own source to the planet. So within the heart, within the various levels and planes and bodies within your form expression is contained the source of your consciousness. The source of your consciousness is in you. As we feel now into our physical bodies grounded, anchored into our physical bodies, we find the same thing, that the physical body is at the end of a ray, the end of a beam. It's just the spot at the end of that spot within the macrocosm. And you identify with the ray that this physical body is the emanation of, the end of. And you find the source within you of your physical body. You go up through the etheric levels. You find the source of your physical body is actually your emotional body. Within your emotional body, you go back to its source and you find it's the mental body. Within the mental body, you go back by identifying with the source of your mental body. You find that the source of that is the higher spiritual bodies. As we go up through the Buddhic, the Atmic, the Monadic, the Logoic body, and then into the cosmic astral plane, we find that each successive plane, level, body is the source of the one preceding it. As we go through each of those levels of creational expression of all that you are. You find that the source of your form expression is actually the source of your consciousness. They are the one. They are one. They are one in being and knowing. And as you connect that circuitry, you become one with knowing. You become one with knowing. One with knowing. And if you hold that as a point of tension, the source of your spirit, the source of your consciousness, the source of your form, expression, and breathe. Breathe into your body and out into your consciousness. And then breathe your consciousness back into the body and breathe the body back out into your consciousness. You breathe in and out, consciousness into the body, body into the consciousness. Consciousness into the body, body into the consciousness. Consciousness into the body, body into the consciousness. Deliberate, deep breaths right down into the belly. Just shoulders back, keep your back straight, don't hunch over. Breathe into your body, breathe the body out into your consciousness. Breathe the consciousness into your body, breathe the consciousness into your body, and breathe the body into your consciousness. In and out. Body consciousness, body consciousness, body consciousness, body consciousness, body consciousness. Body consciousness. Systematic identification with all that is. Body consciousness, body consciousness, body consciousness, body consciousness. One with all that is. Body consciousness, body consciousness. Feel the power of love. Feel and know the power of love. And may love restore the balance. Feel and know the power of love from within your own source presence, and feel the power of love. Feel the power of love, for it is within you. Feel that knowing. And honour the counter-intention. Everything within your body consciousness which refuses to accept the truth of all that is. Honour that counter-intention and love it into submission. Love it into submission. This is the process of revelation. This is the direct source transmission of revelation. Be that living source body consciousness. I am source body consciousness. I am source body consciousness. I am source body consciousness. In, of and for love, I am source body consciousness. In, of and for love, I choose to love, and love I will. I will source body consciousness. I choose source body consciousness. I am. I am. I am. I am. Feel and know the power of love. Source body consciousness. Source body consciousness. Source body consciousness. Feel the power of love. Allow. Receive from the God within you this blessing. Be grateful. Be grateful. Be grateful for the blessing of source body consciousness. Be grateful for the blessing. Appreciate source body consciousness. Be grateful. Appreciate. Love source body consciousness. Love source body consciousness. I am love. I am light. I am truth. I am wisdom. I am gratitude. I am compassion. The medium through which you express source body consciousness is the vibration of compassion. You understand the operation of universal law. You are compassion. In, of, and for love, I choose to love, and love I will, and how I choose to love is compassionately. I choose compassion. I choose compassion. I choose compassion. I choose it. I choose compassion. I choose compassion. I am compassion. I am compassion. I am source body consciousness. I am compassion. I am source body consciousness. I am compassion. And I choose to be a loving influence, a wise influence, a compassionate influence upon all. Upon all. Upon all I am a loving, wise, compassionate influence. I am source body consciousness. I am source body consciousness. I am source body consciousness. May love restore the balance. As source body consciousness, feel yourself returning to a state of wakefulness, alertness, awareness of source body consciousness, awareness of source body consciousness, awareness of source body consciousness. The gift of source to source. A gift from my source to the source of all that you are. All that you represent, all that you be, right here, right now. May love restore the balance. How is that? Source body consciousness. Body consciousness. Source body consciousness. Source body consciousness, source body consciousness, source body consciousness. Well, that's what I wanted to share with you today. It may take a series of moments to fully integrate and actualize that.